Thank you. And it's great to be here. Anybody like sneakers? All right, good. I'm going to talk to you today about K-Swiss and our brand journey and tell you a little bit about what we're doing now and hopefully pull out some tips for you of things we've learned along the way, things we've done good, things we've done poorly. And we're really in the midst of a brand turnaround right now, so it's a good time to check in and tell you what we're doing. So K-Swiss is 50 years old. It was founded in 1966, a big legacy sneaker brand. First made tennis shoes, was actually the maker of the first, was a tennis fan. That's about how big the business is, by the way. Pretty small. But 90% of our business is really casual shoes, but we came from tennis. And over the years, the brand has really sort of faded away and lost relevance. And so I'm part of a team to bring the brand back and breathe new life into an old sneaker brand. And that's really the journey that we're on. So when I took over about 2 years ago, K-Swiss was positioned as an athletic sneaker brand. And to me, that's a very general position. So I call it like a brand generalist. And when you position yourself like that, you're going up against the big other general sneaker brands that make sneakers for multiple sports. So my competition is Nike, Adidas, Puma, Reebok, New Balance, you know, and little old K-Swiss is going to get crushed, okay? So first of all, I thought that we can't survive if we try and play that or continue to try and play that game. So then I looked at tennis and said, hey, what if we stayed in our lane and specialized again and earn a position as a specialist, after which we can then generalize again and diversify. So when I looked at the competition as a tennis brand, the competitive set became easier to deal with. But K-Swiss is actually an old heritage brand, and there's a lot of benefits to heritage and history and authenticity that some of these brands don't have if they make, you know, modern tennis rackets. So when you look at heritage tennis, the competitive set shrank again, and you're left with these three brands. Lacoste is French, the tone and the voice of Lacoste is French. Fred Perry, very English, the tone and the voice is very English. And K-Swiss is an American brand founded in California. So when you say, okay, what about a heritage American tennis brand? It's just us. And that is a really simple exercise that led us to a position that says K-Swiss is the only heritage American tennis brand. And all of a sudden, you've gone from being a small brand that's going to get killed by the competition to having a window or a position that's ownable and that you can mean something to somebody. So this is a simple exercise that I call the only exercise. So can you answer for your brand or your client's brands the only exercise? Brand X is the only something. And if you can't, keep working on it, keep going back until you can come back and say, okay, I'm the only something, because then you've got something unique to offer. And you always want to put yourself in a position where you can win. So that's the first thing we did from a branding perspective. Now that's the backstory or the heritage of K-Swiss. Now, I also think that young people don't want to live in a museum. There's a lot of value to history and authenticity, but it's not somewhere that people are really, on a day-to-day basis, want to put that on their clothing. So when you're dealing with fashion, you're dealing with what does this logo say about me if I wear it? So you have to answer what's the modern position of the brand. So that was the second piece we've addressed. What does K-Swiss mean today? And again, when you look at the market, the big monster in our industry is Nike, who's very lined up against the concept of the athlete as their muse. All their voice is about run fast, jump high, beat the competition. So a quick, easy way for me to lose would be to play against Nike at their own game. Under Armour's probably the number 2 brand in that position. Adidas did an interesting thing and they were the perennial number 2 and ended up saying, hey, you know what, forget athletes for a minute. What if we put celebrities or rappers at the front of our brand? And they signed Kanye and they did stuff with Pharrell and all sorts of different people, and that really helped them take a lot of mind share over the past 12 to 18 months from Nike, and they shifted the voice. And Puma is probably the brand that's second to them in terms of signing celebrities. So that's another position that K-Swiss would have a really hard time trying to sign a rapper, it would make me immediately third place at best. So you have to find a new lane and a fight you can win. And I always say this, if you can't be first, be different. Okay, so in other words, if I do everything right in those other positions, the best I could be is third, and no one wants to do that. So I need to find somewhere where I can be first. Okay, and this is really important brand differentiation. So we found this other world around entrepreneurship. And the truth is that young people today are really aspiring to be entrepreneurs. Look at us all here. Okay, so this is clearly an era of entrepreneurship. And so when I really start talking to people and said, who actually cares more about, do you want to run a 6-minute mile or be the CEO of your own company? And 90% of people say, I want to be the CEO of my own company. So there's clearly a shift in what are or who are the aspirational people to youth culture now, and it's becoming entrepreneurs. And so why is the sneaker business talking about running fast and dunking a basketball? People have moved on. And in fact, celebrities are great, but it's a little shallow. So there's this whole new area around entrepreneurship that we jumped into. So simply put, this is how I tell the story. If you want to be an athlete, Nike's your brand. If you want to be a celebrity or be the cool kid at the party, Adidas is your brand. If you want to be the boss or the CEO, listen to us. Okay, and it's a simple exercise of differentiation, critical. This has led us to our brand purpose, modern brand purpose of K-Swiss, to outfit and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. This is bigger than selling shoes, and that's another thing. There's people who talk to you a lot about brand purpose. There's great presentations I've heard about, you know, the why versus the what, and this is why we get up in the morning and try and get people to come to work, is saying, hey, I'm not here to sell sneakers to make a profit. I'm here to inspire youth to make the best of themselves. That's a way bigger platform. And the truth is, the conversations we're having now with our customers is about their hopes and dreams, not about sneakers. And when that happens, you know you've tapped into emotional connections, and that will last a whole lot longer than just having great shoes, which we also have. So I've highlighted the word inspire here as a really important thing for a company to do, is not just have a value proposition on the product, but to stand for something bigger. And I know most of you already know that, because that's been talked about quite a bit. Here is what young CEOs look like today. This is the other thing I love, is because they don't look like you'd expect. Top left there is a guy called Anwar Carrots. He's the CEO of his own streetwear brand called Carrots. He's a CEO. Young people want to be him. He's creative, he's successful, and he's selling his own clothes in his own stores around the world. Karen Civil is a social media powerhouse. She's a CEO and a hustler making things happen. Young women want to be Karen, not necessarily to play for the Yankees. Coco and Breezy founded their own eyewear company in New York City. Creative, successful, they're their own bosses. And Elliot Tabele, who runs the Instagram account Fuck Jerry, again, young, successful, I'm not allowed to say that. Doesn't count because it's an Instagram handle. These are all people who have been in our campaign. And then I was looking for a bigger face to who can really bring this to life for me, who's my Michael Jordan, and I ended up with this guy. So I reached out to Gary and I wrote to him a cold email and I said, hey, I believe entrepreneurs are the new heroes. Easy, check the box. Do you want to make the first ever signature sneaker for an entrepreneur? And he wrote back right away. Said, let's do it. It's great. So we met. And that, to me, it was a little tongue-in-cheek. You know, Nike has signature sneakers for athletes. What a clean juxtaposition to this new positioning, to do a signature sneaker for an entrepreneur, make people go, wait, what? And in November, about a year after I met him, we launched the Gary V 001 and 002. Some of you may know it. I've seen some people wearing it. And we launched it at midnight. Our website crashed at 12:01. Drove everybody crazy. And we sold out 5,000 pairs in a matter of hours, just disappeared. They're on eBay for twice the price, and everyone went, wow, what the hell just happened? So now we're doing more of it. We today launched the Crushing It sneaker to celebrate his latest book. It's the same colors as the book jacket. Some of you may have been here this morning. There was a raffle at 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. where you had to win a raffle to get a chance to buy 150 pairs in Toronto. So we specifically did one event in Toronto because we didn't sell the last sneaker in Toronto and everyone complained. So now you can get it. That's the Crushing It shoe. Okay, so that's the good news is we've created this differentiated positioning. We have this new modern brand platform. We took a ton of risk. Seems to be working. But let me talk a little bit about some lessons learned, some more tactical stuff. Tips. Okay, number one, pick a fight you can win. So not only does differentiation and finding white space matter from a brand level, but also very tactically. One of the things we did is we launched our signature shoe, the regular K-Swiss shoe, 2 years ago at $80, and it didn't work. And we realized we're right up against the biggest and best competition at the same price. And if you walk into a shoe and see a Nike shoe, an Adidas shoe, a Puma shoe, and a K-Swiss shoe at the same price, you're not going to pick ours. And that was a mistake. So we dropped our price $10, and we found this little price zone that was less competitive. We started making product in that price zone, and our sales went up 30% by doing that. So just a little tactic. You've got to be really looking at all these details to be successful, not just pie-in-the-sky brand. Although that is important, it can't be done on its own. Another tip is to admit when something isn't working. This is really hard to do because you fall in love with things, you commit to things. I led the company down this path. Hey, this is a shoe we're going to ride behind. And at one point, someone said, hey, you know that's not working. And it's really hard to look everyone in the eye and go, hey, this isn't working, we need to do something else. But if you don't, you're just going to hold on to a bad strategy longer and longer, and you're not going to make it. So you have to say, hey, what is causing this problem? Price isn't right. Quickly adjust, quickly pivot. And again, really hard to do when you say, hey, well, it's my marketing budget, it's my idea, it's the product I spent a year on. You've got to admit when something's not working, super important. Another couple of little tips, to act like a doctor, not a parent. And someone told me this at one point, and it stuck with me, is you have to, as a marketer or as a brand builder, you have to really look at each situation non-emotionally. Okay, every situation is different. So if you're a doctor, every patient that comes in has different symptoms. You don't just apply the same prescription of medication. First of all, you're looking and saying, what's wrong with you? And you're reading symptoms. And that's true of brands and businesses. What do I have to solve here? And custom fit the prescription to the patient. Not the same strategy over and over again that you just spit out every time. But also, it's about doing it non-emotionally. Not getting too much ownership, not having things that are just mine. I've got to pour more money into it because it's mine, I love it. Be really non-emotional about things and act like a doctor, not a parent. And you've got to pivot real fast if you see something wrong and to a plan B, which requires a couple things. Number one, you've got to know it's wrong, which you can only do if you're measuring and testing and paying attention. And number two, you can only pivot to plan B if you have a plan B. So always have a backup plan is the other thing there. Okay, so that's really a quick rundown of K-Swiss. Hopefully I've given you some bigger picture thoughts and some tactics. One thing I would leave you with is differentiating yourself and finding these open paths is not a nice to have once you've fixed everything else. It's really an absolute necessity up front, especially if you're a challenger or a brand or a startup or a small brand. It's really a necessity, so I would encourage you to focus heavily on that first. And with that, thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much.